Good morning, everyone. I can see we've got a few people that have joined. We'll just give it a few more minutes to allow some others to join. The numbers are creeping up. I'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes.
It's very early in Australia, right?
It is early. Yeah, it's 9:30, so people are no doubt just getting into the office. What time is it for you there, Lara?
For me, it's 4:30.
Ah, and Millie, it's what, 6:30?
7:30.
7:30.
7:30. Okay. All right. We'll get started. We'll get started now. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar presented by Global Victoria, Mastering Distribution Platforms in the US, Unlocking Growth in the Digital Marketplace. Very exciting topic and very relevant, I think, in today's world. I'd just like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting today, the peoples of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I'd also like to let you know that we'll be recording today's session so that we can share with attendees afterwards. My name is Lizzie Moffat. For those of you that don't know me, I think I've met most of you previously. I look after the beauty, wellness and personal care sector within the e-commerce and consumer goods team at Global Victoria, based in Melbourne, so the State Government of Victoria's trade agency. Thank you all for joining today. As Lara was just saying, it is relatively early here, so appreciate you all joining. It's really great to see so much interest in the presentation today. Just a quick bit about Global Victoria. I'm sure many of you already know, but we have an extensive network of 23 offices globally, which places us really well to support Victorian brands in their export journey into priority markets. Servicing the US and Canada, Global Victoria has 4 offices in the US. So we've got New York, Washington, Boston, and San Francisco. As you can see, online with us today is Mildred Ruiz-Lille, otherwise known as Millie, who looks after consumer goods and also the food and fibre sector across the US, Canada, and Mexico. Many of you will have worked with Millie over the years, and if you haven't, I do suggest touching base with myself and Millie to have a chat about the US market. Through Millie's connections in the US and knowledge of the consumer goods sector, Millie connects Victorian brands to the business community in the US, supporting you in your export journey and, supporting with those services required to do business in such a vast and complex market. And that's, the US is a huge market. I don't think you can even consider it as one market. There's markets within the market. So that's the reason we host these webinars and we do all the work that we do, is to help you navigate that. I will hand over to Millie shortly to speak a little bit more about the webinar today, and of course introduce our wonderful guest speaker, Lara, who you can see on the screen here from the DARL. I'll let Millie do the introduction to you, Lara. I just wanted to touch on a few housekeeping points first. At the moment, we've got the cameras off and mics muted. We do want to encourage you to ask questions, though, just so that all the attendees get the most out of today's session. So if you can use the chat function to pop your questions in there. I'm happy to enable cameras and mics if we want to keep it a bit more interactive. You can use the raise hand function. We've got an hour for today's session, so I won't take up any more of your time. I'm conscious to get to the main event. I'll hand over to you now, Millie, to introduce Lara and get the program started. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's great to see so many familiar names on today's webinar. And thank you again for taking the time to join us. We're delighted to have an exceptional speaker with us today, Lara Schmoisman, founder and CEO of the DARL, a Los Angeles-based marketing and advertising agency that helps brands grow and scale in today's digital marketplace. With more than 30 years of experience building brands, Lara is known for creating omni-channel growth strategies that connect every stage of the consumer journey. She's also the host of the Coffee Number Five podcast. And if you haven't heard it, I encourage you because to hear it because she shares a lot of very valuable information. She's also author of Unpopular Opinions newsletter. She's a Forbes Next 1000 honoree, an LA Times Inspirational Women finalist, and a former digital marketing professor at California Polytechnic State University. Today, Lara will share her insights on how companies can successfully grow in the digital marketplace, and as Lizzie mentioned, and we know, this market is very complicated, and success online is not only about having a strong TikTok strategy or Amazon or social media in isolation. Sustainable growth comes from creating an integrated ecosystem where all channels work together to build brand awareness, acquire customers, and drive sales. And we know again that this is a very complicated market, and that's why we brought an expert. Um, we are also very briefly going to mention that we're delivering a program to help Victorian companies strengthen these capabilities and their success in the marketplace. We're working with Lara currently, but Lizzie will touch on this briefly at the end of the session. But as always, we are only an email away, and we welcome all your inquiries. Now, please help me welcoming Lara. And Lara, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you everyone. I'm coming off a little cold, plus my sexy accent that I'm from Argentina. So I'm I'm here and I'm ready to tell you a lot about what I know and in this world that as you can hear, I was lost in translation too once. So, and I had to accommodate to live in this country. And so I think that it's so important to understand how a culture speak, how a culture understand things. And we're going to be talking a little more about that. So I will share my screen.
Just
Please.
before you do, Lara, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. I'm getting a few messages from people saying that they're unable to get into the webinar. Can we just hold tight for 30 seconds, a minute or so? I just want to
Yes,
see if there's
absolutely.
anything I can change on my end. Just bear with us for a minute there, everyone. I'm sorry for the technical disruption. Just a second.
That's okay. I'm just putting a screen. So maybe if
Thanks.
someone wants to sing. No, but anyway, I know that you all guys in Australia, and I would love from you to tell me a little bit about your brand in the chat box, so I know that I can cater a little more the conversation for what your brand is about, and also if you're in the US market already, and if you are, what's your challenge? I would love to know that. And of course, at the end, we'll go over questions and answers. I'm an open book, and if I don't have the answer, I'm always happy to try to get it for you.
Just changing a few settings here. I can see we've got 14. The numbers are creeping up.
Good.
Bear with me. Let's see. I had someone message. Let's see.
Oh, I love all these questions. Thank you, guys. You give me a great idea what we're going to be talking about. And I love to improvise a little, and I love to answer questions.
Okay, I'm going to turn on mics and cameras for everyone, so don't be shocked when I change that setting. Feel free to leave your camera on if you'd like to leave it on, and we can take questions if you raise your hand. I'm hoping that by changing some of these settings, something will work for me. I'm not a technical person, so, you know, wish me luck. Same message. Lara, did you have someone also telling you that they're unable to join from your
Yes,
side?
yes,
Yeah, have they been able to yet?
yes, they're in the waiting room.
So Lara had this same issue when
Mm.
trying to join. What did you do to get around that, Lara?
I had to get in incognito.
So on your web browser, incognito.
Yeah, go to an incognito window.
Can you talk us through, well, talk me through how to do that, and I can.
Yes, if you're in Chrome, what you
Yeah,
need to do is on your top right, there are three dots. So
okay,
you go to that, and this is open a new incognito window, and then you
okay,
paste the link there.
okay. All right, I think we'll keep going. I don't want to waste too much of the time. We are being recorded, so let's carry on.
Okay. So first of all, I want to explain something. I didn't get in marketing. Even my background is not in marketing, but I really got obsessed with how people buy, why they buy. So many years later, I'm still asking the same question. Just now we have better tools and we have more information of how to connect with that consumer. So one of the things that I learned is that many people or brands are saying that they have budget problems. It's all about money. We cannot do this because I heard someone say $1 million to come into the US. And I don't believe that. I believe that it's a system problems. So a little bit about me. As I merely mentioned before, I'm Forbes Next 1000 honoree, LA Times Inspirational Woman finalist, former professor, host of Coffee Number 5. Please listen to it because I bring in really good guests and I get them to give a lot of insights. So the content is good. And also you can subscribe in Unpopular Opinions in LinkedIn or in Substack that also I talk about things that people don't normally want to talk. And I'm the founder of the DARL. So now let's talk about this. So brands are not having, so I want to ask this question for you guys. Where are you standing? I would love for you to raise your hand or tell me or do it in the chat box. So you have a disconnection problem and you feel the urgency, but you don't know where to focus. That is one of them. Another people, you are running all these channels, but they are not connecting the results. And the third one is that you're growing, but it still feels fragmented and it's not compounding. I would love to see what's your problem. What's your disconnection problem? Anyone? All of you guys? Okay, well, feel free to tell me. All of these have different symptoms, but the root problem is the same for all of that. The channels are running in parallel, but the problem is that they are not adding up. So today we're going to be talking about how to fixing that problem. So I wanted to think that your brand is like a city. They're neighborhoods, but they're not connected. There are no roads. There is no shared infrastructure. So think about that you're totally isolated. People get lost and leave. So 78% of the companies, and I know to say all this data because I want you to understand that you are not alone. 78% of the companies are now using AI. And yet 56% of the CEOs or CFOs say that they haven't moved revenue yet. You know why? because everyone bought tools, but nobody built that city. So when you have an ecosystem and is connected, in everything needs compounds. But when it's not, you're running a very expensive neighborhood that it doesn't talk to each other. So you're not running a city. So one of the things that I learned in the last few years, and I started talking about this a while ago, and a lot of people told me that I was crazy. I was talking about something that it was search everywhere optimization, that later on it evolved in what I call the halo effect. So what happened when your brand is consistent about every touch point and every channel makes the next one stronger. For example, TikTok drives awareness, search, build trust, and trust drives that conversion. And I'm sure that each one of you did this at one extent or the other. Like probably you saw in social media a product, but then you went, is this product real? Does it work? It doesn't work. So you go to ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you use, Perplexity, and hey, is this product real? Is this product good? And then you get an information. So that goes into the search, and then you trust. And when you trust, then it generates a conversion. And as any brand, what we want is a loyalty. We want everyone that after converts, they become in a loyalty, and that's where it restarts the cycle. That's what I just call is compounding. Compounding, sorry. That's a game. And most brands yet are not there because they are optimizing each channel separately. The goal here and what we need to understand today is that about this halo effect and how every channel is affecting and the other part of your business. So this is really important, the brand, and it's awareness, trust, search, conversion, loyalty. 5 steps, super important. Okay, this is a good one, and it's a new one. Everyone who ever did a marketing class always learn about this funnel. And the funnel was top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Now this has changed dramatically. Why? Because the query has changed. People are not going, for example, into ChatGPT or Google, and they're not just asking. And remember this, there are many times even dictating or talking to it. So we need to, the consumer explains what they need. And they're going to say, they're not going to say, I want a serum or anti-aging serum. They're going to explain their problems. They're going to explain who they are. So demographics is now the most important part. We need to understand the pre-funnel. If we don't understand the pre-funnel, and who we're talking, and demographics are not anymore just saying, except specific product like anti-aging, women in their 50s, men in their 60s, very specific products like that, the demographic is not an H box anymore. We need to know what are the pain points. Are you having fine lines that you're trying to cover? Are you having spotting because sunspots because you have these, you've been exposing the 80s to the sun? People are going to give all this information, and that's what they're going to be asking AI. Even they're going to misspell. So we need to understand how people misspell or even mispronounce. And if your content is not set up for that in all your channels, you're wasting a lot of money, and you're going to find yourself actually putting a lot more money in paid media because you're losing that target in organic media. And please, Millie or anyone, if you think I'm going too fast or too much, please let me know and I can slow down. Or
all good, thanks, Lara. All good.
Yeah,
okay.
and please feel free to pop any questions in the chat box, or raise your hand, and we'll be happy to put you on the microphone.
Yeah. Okay. So I had a client who had a great product with terrible results. And you know what was, when they came to us, we realized immediately what was the problem. Their brand had 4 different voices. One voice in social media, another voice in retail, another voice in their SEO, and another voice in their paid media. So the emails, oh my God, the emails were a disaster. So they were confusing the AI. Brand consistency is not a choice anymore. And what we keep talking about SEO and GEO, it's so important. And SEO and GEO need to be included in your social media, need to be included in your email marketing, because that is what your consumer is looking for. It's all about the consumer. So, and I know that many of you guys are very interested in retail in the US and what it takes to be retail ready. And we're going to be talking about a little more about that later on.
Do you want me to bring you your food?
But one of the things that I want to convey here is that you see this work that we see in the slide right now. It's social media, search, AI, retail, and D2C is part of the same. Everything works together. Even when you get to retail, you cannot stop any of the other parts. Okay, and this is when it gets really fun and really confusing, and it's 20. So let's think about this. For example, a 28 years old, dry skin at 11 p.m. Sorry, it's on TikTok, and she finds a brand that likes. She never heard about it, but she says, "Oh my God, I saw someone talking about it. Looks like me. She's a college student or a young adult, and this worked for her. So, and she's kind of has my skin color." Okay, so go to ChatGPT, ask if this serum or this brand really actually works. So if it does, then it's going to keep asking questions. Which one, what it does, because our consumer now is asking questions, is not accepting anymore. So how AI is working right now, and when we're talking about search engine, we cannot talk about Google anymore. When we're talking about search engines, we're talking about Google, TikTok, Pinterest, ChatGPT, everything is a search. So you need to be validated. And something I want to clarify here, that maybe if you're validated in one territory, like Australia, you might not be validated in another territory. So I always encourage you guys to do a VPN and to connect as you're in somewhere else and see what the responses come. I've seen it over and over again when I do audits that in one country, they have first ranking and another country is actually the recommendations are bad. So we're going to talk for a minute about how the consumer is, the journey of the consumer is, for example, is going to discover us in TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. And remember, all these places are discovery, but at the same time, all these places are picking up keywords, and they're picking up based on what your consumer is asking. Then they're going to go and validate to ChatGPT, Google, or your website. All the main data, what AI is going to be doing is going to go first to your website to validate the information. So you need to make sure that the data that you put and the structured data that you put in your website is connected to the ecosystem that you want to approach. Again, if you have a brand in Australia, you might need to put different information in your US website because the search is different, because the problems are different. And like Millie and Lizzie mentioned today, the US is very big. So we cannot expect that someone in Los Angeles will have the same problem that in North Carolina. So we need to make sure that the information is really problem solution. So ChatGPT or any other of the AIs will do this search. You will show up, they will validate you. And then where are they going to buy? where they feel comfortable in. When the consumer feels that it's the best place to buy. You cannot control where your consumer is going to buy. If people today tell me that they don't have Amazon, I will say, why not? If your consumer wants to buy in Amazon, they should be in Amazon. So you're going to have your D2C, which is your website. Then you can have Amazon, you have TikTok Shop. Later on, we can talk about a little more about TikTok Shop, or you can answer questions if you guys are curious. But retail, super important. When we're talking about retail, and if you are lucky that a retail pick you up, that's when you need to do all the discovery again to help the retail. Otherwise, it will drop you. Okay, content, trust, infrastructure. So one of the things that the AI and the ecosystem pick up is, first of all, your domain authority. Your URL is what is going to give you a rank. But right now it changed. Before, when you will do a search in Google, you will appear in the first page, second page. Now it has changed and is connected with your domain authority. If you're sending too many email spams, that can affect your domain authority. If you're not sending too many emails, that might affect your domain authority. If you're putting advertising linked to the domain and people come and go because it's a wrong advertising, that's a bounce rate. It will affect your domain authority. Everything is affecting your domain authority. Oh, your website is not performing well, it's not running well, will affect your domain authority. So things that are a must today is performance. Make sure that you're performing well, that your voice is cohesive everywhere, and then that you have reviews. If you have clinical claims, that they are real. Creator endorsements, awards, and certifications. And anything that is media helps a lot. And also, like, for example, when you guys are in Amazon, when you're going to buy a product in Amazon, the first thing you do is look at the reviews. And then if you feel like the reviews and the information that you see in the product, then you will go and analyze the reviews. So AI is a new funnel and it's already live. We cannot change this. This is the way it is. And how the whole environment now is ruled is by AI. Every country is a little different, but if you've been optimizing your website for 10 years, right now probably is obsolete. Now you need to look in how to re-optimize it for the new AI. And there is no way to stop it. And you need to re-optimize it. When we're talking about a brand, we're talking about 3 different pillars. The first one, that is the brand DNA. Who you are as a brand and why you communicate about the brand, that doesn't change. Then you have another part that is your competitors, what your competitors are going for, who are the keywords. And for a brand awareness, you need to show every time that your competitor is showing there. And as they adding more, you need to be adding more. And the next one is what is going in the search, what is going into the trends, what's going on in the world. If the Kardashians pick up a new hobby and you're part of that hobby and you can jump into it, go into it and add the Kardashian as a keyword. It's something that is moving constantly, and also it's about what people are searching. So like I said before, the consumer query has changed. So AI will make a recommendation. Then you will do into brand validation, and then it will do the purchase. And hopefully then we're gonna get loyalty. So today is the worst that AI will ever be. And it's true, we're evolving, we're improving. But the good news is that right now, big brands are not doing this because they're relying in so much of the brand awareness. So I think it's an amazing opportunity for younger brands or middle-sized brands to position themselves and be found in the search. So this is another thing that it changed, and it's fundamental of how we've been changing the marketing. It's emotional signature. People are not talking anymore about the fine lines. They're talking about how the product feels. the texture, the smell. Is all about connecting with our consumer. And like we said before, problem solution, but we want also to make sure that we put in that structured data. We put the emotional part and the sensations part that I mentioned before, and then the trust signal is super important that we put claims, ingredients, whatever that will give trust. And you know what? One of the funny thing, most searches in AI or Google comes up of the privacy policy. What's your return policy? So people want to know what's a return policy before they purchase in a website. So AI is picking up all this information from your website. So you need to make sure that you are updated. And then the foundation. All these, the emotional signature and the structure and the signal cannot live if you don't create a foundation that is your website working and performing. And also you need to be very, very careful in territories. You cannot give for granted that will work in one country will not work in another country. You have different laws. You have different things that you need to convey. So make sure that when you're ready to change territories, you're set up for success. Okay, your brand feeling is the brand data. So this is, your consumers are writing about your brand. So you need to listen. You need to listen what the people complain about, what they love about, because that is telling you what the consumer is looking for in your brand. This is how it makes you feel. I feel expensive when I use this. You need to create all these emotions. You want to absorb all that information because that information is data. For example, if people keep talking about the texture, that is light texture, that's giving you the keyword that it's something that you should mention in your copy. Reviews is the ultimate information. The same thing about Reddit. And you know what? AI also is picking up on all that. And don't forget, if we're talking about Amazon, Amazon has Alexa built in. And Alexa is picking up on all these conversations that people are having. So you need to make sure that all your copy is AI readable. So I want to make this very, very clear. Marketing is not magic. And nobody is going to convert the first time you see you, unless you are a TikTok sensation and you might be one hit wonder. And I'm pretty sure that nobody here wants to be a one hit wonder. They want to build a brand. So we need to build in those relationships. It's important that you do all the ecosystem, but also you're in all the touch points. You make sure that they come back they're ready to come back to be sold. So email marketing, messaging using social media. If they put a like, thank them for the like. Make sure that your social media team is communicating and is creating that engagement. Okay, every algorithm rewards the same thing: momentum, relevance, and trust. So every algorithm in TikTok, Google, Amazon, ChatGPT want you to be selling. All of them want to create the momentum. All of them are helping you to elevate the brands, but you need to show up consistently. Your brand clarity needs to be there. You need to be interacting with the audience. You need to create, I will say the keyword from 2026 for brands is community. You need to generate a community, people talking about the products. So you want to be in that recommendation, but also we need to get this organic research is organic reach is so important. The organic is money that you're wasting in advertising if you are not doing it organically right. Because everything now it's going to be in the search and it's unavoidable. So one of the things that we need to understand here really is important, that how this world is progressing is that when you put advertising, when you do, you put social media even, Reddit, anything you do outside that is not your website, it's paid real estate. It's not something that you own and you can control the narrative. So it's very important that all the transaction, and you always have your website as a very strong foundation of who you are, because that's going to be the rule for everything else. So, and here's where the conversion breaks. You need to think about your conversion path like a pipe. You can pour as much as you want from the top, but if there are holes, you're losing the pressure at every stage. So I've seen brands that they spend $100,000 a month on ads with a 1.2 conversion rate. We audited the pipe and it was shocking. We found out that to get someone in TikTok will cost $78. And that person will not convert in TikTok shop. So she's gone. And then when they go to TikTok, there is no reviews in TikTok. There was no press. There was no proof. They cannot find anything, any information. So that consumer that find you in TikTok and then they want to validate you, they have nothing. If there is a language mismatch, the same. Super important, content creators. And I know all of you guys are working with UCG. UCG, fundamental. But you need to be very careful with what UCG you use, because you need to make sure that you work with creators that they will align with your brand. Not only the looks and aesthetics, but also that they will be a social proof. And it's someone that you want aligned with your brand. Another thing that's super important, paid partnerships. When the algorithm or the AI is looking for reviews and all that, paid partnerships, they're not showing up with as a review. So it's not going to be part of your foundation. So authenticity is the goal here. All the search will go to look for you from press releases, your website, to get all the credibility and validation. But then to get the affirmation, they will go to the social. They want people talking in Reddit. They want the organic talk. So make sure that you're not creating any of this friction of conflict. That is where you can lose a consumer. So the goal shift is not about being found, it's about being chosen by agents right now. So I don't want to I know that we're talking a lot about AI, but because this digital world became AI, actually recently I was speaking at a conference of media buy here in Los Angeles, and there was two parts of the presentation. I was in the part of media commerce, but the other part, which fascinated me, was about retail commerce. We are almost there. Retail is going to get ready. Even if I go to Sephora and in Sephora, I don't find something, they tell me, oh, we can get it in the website for you. So all this is becoming more available to people. And we're going to have retail media and advertising very soon that it will interact. There are some stores that they are trying. So we need to make sure that in those stores, when we put in the products and when you're ready for retail, you are ready to be a recommendation. So we're getting to the end, and I know that I'm giving you a lot of information. Sorry about that. I came back from a call. So the framework is the map. The connectors are actually make you move. Your tech infrastructure. Okay, this is important. A lot of brands, and I did some audits for some of the brands here, so you saw how I do it. We look at your tech stack. Your tech stack can affect your performance, the foundation of your website. So you need to make sure that your technology infrastructure is what you need today, not with what you need in the future. I see brands spending too much money in infrastructure that they don't need. And like I always said, money spent in the wrong place is money that we don't spend in the right place. So you need to make sure that all your data stack is connected also. If you have your email marketing, you need to make sure that it's connected with your Shopify, your automations is in place, and that you having what you need, because adding more plugins, for example, adding a subscription, if you're not selling product, if you don't get in people, why are you going to be paying for a subscription plan and you are adding a level of complexity when you first need to be working on brand awareness? There is a time for absolutely everything. AI tools, oh my God, if I can get started, we need to stop with that, and every brand needs to stop using AI tools for everything, because AI tools without the human knowledge behind it, and even like, for example, most brands now, they're putting blogs created with AI. You know what? That doesn't work, because AI is picking up AI. And if you are putting content out there that AI is doing it, guess how AI is getting that content from? AI is getting the content from everything that is out there. So everyone is getting the same content. So humanizing it, super, super important. Remember, the future is agentic comments. So if we don't give more information, more data to the agents, they will not give us a recommendation. And my favorite part, strategic partners. You need to make sure that you work with your partners, that do it yourself, or having your nephew's friend from college, that won't work. Everything is about strategy. Even when you get into retail strategy will be there that will be affecting your D2C, because you have to have stacks. You cannot have a promotion in one place and have it in the website. You cannot compete at the same time. So the strategy is fundamental. Okay, timeline across the top. Brand shapes the language. Demand drives traffic. Content builds proof. Search AI drives discovery. Conversion, whenever the client consumer is ready to buy. And this is like this. This is a halo effect. We cannot control where people are going to buy. And many times we don't even know where they're coming from, because they found us in social, they validate us, or they a recommendation from AI. And then they're going to go and find in Amazon or in a website, whatever they feel comfortable buying. Or maybe when it's a price issue, like maybe the consumer won't care if Amazon takes 30% more of your income. They don't care about that. They care where they have the best promotion. So this is a business strategy and something that you really need to combine with your marketing strategy. The business plan and marketing need to be one, and you need to communicate with who your partner is. Like, I cannot help a brand that I cannot understand the margins. I cannot help a brand that I don't understand until where we can do, where we're going to be flexible with. So I know that this was a lot, and I'm going to open it to questions and answers, but also I'll give you guys here the QR code, and I give you a minute. So if you want to download all this information. Is it
Thank you,
working?
Lara. Yes. Why don't we start? We have a few comments and questions. Can you read those, or do you want me to read them for you?
Well, okay, now I found them. Okay. Yeah, we have a few comments. I don't see if I see them all. You want to read them,
Okay.
Lily?
Yes. So the first one is from Grants Toothpaste. You know them very well because you are working with them
Well, yeah, they're
on the
wonderful.
program. So they're
Well,
basically
yeah, maybe you want to tell them a little bit about the program soon, also.
Yeah, Lizzie will touch
Okay.
on that at the end. Yeah, happy to. So as we mentioned, we are working with Lara currently on a an Amazon program. We still have some spots available for companies, so Lizzie will touch on that at the end. If we can cover the questions. Leanne is asking, we are an ethical luxury skincare brand, Asala STEM, made in Australia. I hear that we need already huge revenue, 1 million plus, before we even enter the US.
I disagree with that. I think you need to have a marketing budget and you have to have an operational budget, but there is not number, there is not a threshold of what you need. I mean, there are brands here starting every day from scratch. So I don't see how's the difference. But as you have a business running, I mean, with an ethical brand, I mean, if you have and I have, just so you know, guys, I have from my team here that I asked her to come because I know that you are curious about retail. So I asked Sharon Delaye to join me today. And she's an expert in retail, which I'm not. I help brands support retail, but she can answer any questions about how to get into retail. But from what I talk to retail all the time, they want brands that they are investing in their brand awareness. They want brands that they have local supporters, that they have an Instagram for the US market. Unless you're huge in Australia, then I will say, you know what, you need to create an US awareness brand. Social media. Is that answer your questions, Ian?
Oh, hi. Sorry, my microphone was on. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you. But when you said create an Instagram for the USA, how would that work? Does that mean how do you create? Because we're global, how would I do that?
Well, here's the issue, and that's what I was talking before, that we live in a globalized world, but at the same time, it's fragmented and people are different and you get lost in translation. Like, for example, Americans they love an Australian brand. They love to hear about the Australian brand, but they want the girls next door in America talking about the brand. So this is a business decision for you. You want to bring American and make it a mix on everything, or making another variation of the social media and say my brand.us, which will be my recommendation. So you can have different promotions, different activities that they are not localized. And later on, let's say you get into Ulta, you're going to have requirements to get into Ulta. So it might conflict with whatever you are doing, even in Ulta, Australia, which I don't know if there is one. So I will suggest that you localize your promotions and not that make it at the global, because it's going to create a conflict at the end.
Okay, and that's done with paid, right?
Say that again.
Paid media?
Paid media, no, organic. I will start first with organic. Don't put, I never recommend any of my clients to start paid media until their foundation is strong. So you need to make sure that your social proof that you get in gifting, UCG, you get the brand awareness first, and then your website set up right for localized for the US market. And that's the foundation. Amazon set up. And when you have all that, then start investing. Otherwise, you're wasting your money.
Yep. Thank you.
So sorry, I'm very no filter with those things, but I hate brands wasting money.
Yes, so do I.
So Lara, just on the I guess the investment it takes to enter the US, we're often telling our brands that obviously it takes a huge investment. You've got to have a lot of capital behind you. You've got to have the budgets. I would tend to think that, for our brands coming from Australia and also including the shipping, logistics, the production, all of that, and meeting the minimum requirements of, retailers in the US, for example, that you would potentially need a substantial amount. But just I'm interested to hear what you have just said to Leanne. And
unless you are like really a very strong brand in Australia, retailers gonna want you to see some proof here. And Sharon, please jump up and tell me what a retailer will want.
Yeah, sure. Hi, good day, everyone. Retailers need.
Sorry, let me give you a little background. Sorry, Sharon. Give a little background about yourself, please.
So I have about over 25 years in the beauty industry alone. I started in CPG. So I've worked with, as part of Estee Lauder brand, Chanel, Elizabeth Arden. So all these are brands that I've helped to scale companies. So for example, Kose, which is a Japanese company, scale their brands and get into retailers like Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Ulta, conversations with Sephora and, Blue Mercury and all those doors that everybody's interested in. So I have extensive experience in building and scaling brands here in the United States and Canada. And one thing that remains true today, it's a very interesting market because there are so many different ways to expand your business at retailers. So as you may or may not be aware, there's tremendous growth in the marketplace as well. So retailers have a lot more opportunities to experiment with brands. But one thing that remains true, and just supporting what Laura says, is even if they take your brand on a marketplace, they're going to want to see what kind of productivity you have, what kind of sell-through are you having, whether they have your inventory or whether the inventory is in your warehouses through marketplace. So they're going to want to see that. So to that point, how are you going to get people aware that you're available at those retailers or on those digital sites or in the stores so that the consumer is going to want to go there? How are you going to create that excitement, awareness, and then desire and sell through?
Well, as I mentioned to you guys, I have a podcast and it didn't come out yet, but 2 days ago, I recorded the podcast with the buyer of Ulta Wellness. And this is something that she's going to be talking about in the podcast, is about, this is a business. Ulta is a business. Sephora is a business. They're going to be bringing brands that they will make them money. And even when you get in retail, you're going to have retail commitments. So you need to decide if that's the part of the business. There are plenty of business that they decide. I think getting into retail is like an obsession for many brands, but you need to make sure your margins are there. You can be very successful not going into retail. You can be very successful going to spas. You can be successful just going in Amazon and creating brand awareness in the halo effect. We have clients that they make just in Amazon over $1.5 million a year.
So, and that's the key, I think, is to understand what is your margins and then what are the different levels of support that you're going to be able to give your brands to push the sales. So what are the margins that you have, plus what is the support that you need to invest in to drive that awareness, to drive the trial, to get that engagement?
So Evan was here saying that they use a distributor in the US to handle supply chain and logistic functions. They're already plugged in with the trade. Let's use focus getting the brand US fundamentals and square away and brand wellness built. Evan, I'm not sure what's your question.
Sorry, I wasn't asking a question. I think the
Okay.
topic was brought up around supply chain and all the costs associated with that. I was just kind of addressing the question. Is that is a heavy lift. Obviously, 99% of the people on the call here are on the other side of the world from us. As you could tell from my accent, I am not Australian. So it is a heavy lift. It's very expensive. It's complicated, and to get plugged into the trade just from a supply chain perspective with EDI connections and the like, can suck up a ton of your time and money. You don't want to do that. You want to focus on building your brand awareness. All the suggestions here that Lara made around getting the fundamentals of your website, of your packaging, of your social media presence straight first. That foundation is important, and that takes time, and that's where you should focus your energy rather than trucks and warehouses and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there, thank you for that, Evan. Now I remember that we talked before. So yeah, what he's saying, I mean, this is a business decision again. You go with the distributor, you want to do it with yourself. There are a lot of ways to scale. There is a lot of ways that to start little by little. Even we have here Vanita that we have almost daily conversations about this. And there are other ways to do it. There is just not one way.
And just to also reinforce one thing, the retailers are looking at your brand websites, and they have a lot of tools to evaluate the kind of traffic that you're receiving on your websites. So before they take any brand, they're going to do their research and see what kind of activity you have going on. So to Laura's point, your fundamentals are critical. What is your brand story? Is it clear? Is it well differentiated? What are you going to be able to add to the consumer choice? What makes you different? And then what makes you exciting? And to Evan and Laura's point, you know, getting into retail is quite an accomplishment. But the more important thing, I always equate it to marriage. It's easy to get married, but you want to stay married. So with a retailer, you want to make sure that you're really successful. So building those fundamentals is really critical so that when you do go into retail and it starts to roll, you're prepared.
And the same thing goes with, like we were talking about, you renting a space. Like TikTok, if they shut you down for some reason, and it happened, I seen it happen, you need to make sure that it's not the only place. You have other places that you can recover. You're not shut down. So it's really important that you're everywhere. And even with the retail, like there is always divorce. So if you cannot trust that because a retailer will pick you up, they can drop you off also. So you make sure that it's not your only outlet. So any more questions? I'm always happy that you guys to email me a question, or we can schedule a time for a discovery call or anything. But I know that we're at time.
It's about time. I know Lara is a wealth of knowledge. We can talk about how to get into the market, how to manage your social media, your marketing strategy for hours. It is certain that the first thing a buyer tells you is, I'm not going to work for you. You're going to work for me. I want you to drive customers to my store, not me do it to you. So with that, thank you so much, Lara. Thank you, Sharon, and thank you everyone for participating today. I'm gonna let, as I said before, I'm gonna let Lizzie briefly talk about the program that we're running with Lara. We only have about a minute or so. So please, Lizzie, just go ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Millie, and thanks, Lara, for a fantastic presentation, echoing everything Millie said, and Sharon for jumping in and sharing your knowledge as well.
Thank you, Sharon, for joining, because I mean, your expertise is invaluable.
Thank you for having me.
So as Millie mentioned, we are running a program, Global Victoria is running a program at the moment with the DARL. We've got funding to support 5 brands to work with the DARL, to work on initially a onboarding or optimizing sales on Amazon. But the DARL is a full 360 marketing agency, as you have just heard from Lara. So there are other services that we can look at that we could incorporate into the program. We've already got 2 brands participating, and it's going really well. So we've got 3 spots left. If you're interested in learning more about the program and having some support from Global Victoria to work with Lara and her connections, of course, please get in touch with me directly. Just shoot me an email or give me a call. I just want to share very quickly on my screen here. This is just a little one-pager that, is that sharing? Yes. This is just a little one-pager that Lara has shared with me. I can send this out to everyone after the call along with the presentation, but it's just at high level, covers the services that they offer. So brand strategy, social media, paid media, content creation, Amazon, social commerce. I'll share that. It just gives you a bit of an idea of the types of services that we may be able to support with through this program. While we're on, I know we're right on time and people might have to jump off, but if anyone has any questions, please just raise your hand or pop it in the chat. And I just put a little note in the chat earlier. Do let us know what other topics you would like us to cover in future webinars. I know that Q&A session at the end where we get to speak to Lara and we speak to our guest speakers, that's often where we get into the nitty-gritty and really get into some rich content. So there's probably questions that have arisen out of that. So just let Millie or myself know if there's other topics you'd like to see. Thank you again, Lara, Sharon, Millie, and thanks everyone for taking time out of your day to join the webinar.
I appreciate everyone for being here. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out. We always want to be here for you, to support you here and through your growth. We want to make sure that getting to the US is a good experience for you.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.